بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I felt the need that I have to make this video and talk about this individual. And even though there are a lot of people who have called to deviations, to falsehood, yet some have been deceived by this individual because this person used to be upon the truth, used to be from the scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, used to be calling people to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But that person changed. The reality of the matter is that he changed, and that is clear and obvious to everyone who has observed him, everyone who sees what he was upon versus what he changed to be upon after that. Everyone sees that he's not the same anymore. Everyone sees that he deviated from that path, the straight path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And people say don't call him out by name, but to make sure that this is clear for everyone, I'm going to call him out by name and make it clear for everyone. SubhanAllah, the scholars have said that if you want to know who has been inflicted by fitna, then if they see what they used to see as halal as haram, and what they used to see as haram they now see as halal, then fitna has inflicted them. In other words, someone who's changing their views with aqidah, with fiqh, with halal and haram rulings, you name it. What they used to see as good, as correct, now they see as wrong, the opposite of that. What they used to see as halal, now they see as haram. What they used to see as haram, now they see as halal. What they used to see as bad, now they see as good. It shows how they've changed. And this change isn't a good type of change based on proof from the Quran and the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Someone who held a certain position or a certain opinion, and then later on proof came to them, or more knowledge about a certain issue from the Quran or the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came to them, and that way they changed to the correct. They realized that what they were upon was wrong, so they changed their view. No, what the scholars are talking about is a person who was inflicted by fitna, and they change all their views, or a lot of their views. Doesn't have to be all their views, but a lot of their views become the opposite. Why? Based on their own desires, based on their hawa, based on their desires, and they're just, again, their own views, their own thoughts and rationale and the fitna that has inflicted them. And subhanAllah, may Allah protect us. The man is clearly changed, and people shouldn't jump to defend him and justify, by saying why and this and that, and this is the reality. He changed, and he was upon the sunnah. He was calling people to the sunnah, and he changed and started calling people to deviations, major deviations. And you all know who I'm talking about. It's the elephant in the room. And as the scholars have said in the past as well, know the truth, you will know men. If you know the truth, you will know men. In other words, you know where they stand with regards to the truth. If you know the truth, you will know where each person falls with regards to the truth. You know whether they're on the straight path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what they're calling to, is it the truth, or are they calling to deviation? And anyone who's sincere and not blindly following, due to their bias, due to, whatever the case may be, knows that this person has changed, that they changed. They were upon the sunnah and they deviated from that. And I don't want to make this video too long. We all know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Imran bin Hittam, this narrator of hadith, this scholar who was from the tabi'een, who was from the scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. What happened to Imran? In Sirah A'lam al-Nubala, Imam Dhahabi mentions that Imran was a scholar. But then he says, but he was from the leaders of the Khawarij. What happened? So by the way, he, just to show you how much of a scholar Imran was, he narrated a hadith from Aisha, from Abu Musa Ash'ari and Abu Abbas. He met some of the companions. Radiallahu anhum. So he learned from them. He took knowledge from them. And some of the great scholars of Islam from the generation that came after his narrated from him, learned from him. What happened to him? He was a scholar from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. What happened to him? How did he become a leader of the Khawarij, this deviant sect that went out against the companions and fought them and killed some of them? How did he go from being a scholar from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah to being such a leader of a deviant sect from among the leaders of the Khawarij? Ibn Sirin tells us, as Imam Dhahabi mentions in Sirah Alam al-Nubala, that Imran married a woman who was from the Khawarij. And he said, I'm going to bring her back to the truth. I'm going to bring her back to the Sunnah, to the right path. What happened? فَصَرَفَتْهُ إِلَى مَذْهَبِهَا. So instead of him bringing her back to the truth, to the Sunnah, away from the madhab of the Khawarij, this deviated sect, what happened? She turned him away from the truth to her own sect. So he became from the Khawarij. He deviated from the truth to falsehood. He deviated from the Sunnah to becoming from the Khawarij, and not just from the Khawarij, but one of the leaders of the Khawarij. So, in summary, dear brothers and sisters, beware of who you get influenced by, whether it be a spouse, like in this case, or whether it be a relative or a deviant teacher or a speaker who's eloquent or might seem knowledgeable, or a book or an online lecture that you may come across. Be careful who influences you. Don't put your guard down and feel safe for yourself from the fitan. May Allah protect us all from the fitan, from the deception out there and the falsehood. Because the reality of it is, when people put their guard down, that is how shaitan get to them, and that's how they fall into these deviations. The Salaf, rahimahullah, were very cautious about who they took knowledge from. They were very cautious about who they even listened to and who they even learned from. Even as much as listening just a verse from them or a hadith from them, because they were afraid that they would somehow put their deviations in there, in between. They're sharing a verse, but they misinterpret the verse and share that deviation with them, that innovation, that wrong way of understanding that verse or that hadith, and they would lead them astray. As Imam Muslim, rahimahullah, narrates in the introduction to his Sahih, to Sahih Muslim, Imam Muslim narrates this statement from Muhammad ibn Sirin, rahimahullah. In the introduction to his Sahih, he says, Muhammad ibn Sirin says, إن هذا العلم دين فانظروا عمن تأخذون دينكم. Indeed, this knowledge is with regards to your deen. This knowledge that you're learning is in your deen. It's matters of deen. It's a way through which we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How we believe in Allah, how we worship Him. The halal and haram. فانظروا عمن تأخذون دينكم. So be careful who you take your deen from. Don't take knowledge. In other words, don't take knowledge just from anyone. Be careful who you learn from, because this is knowledge in our deen, and we should be careful who we take our deen from, because that's going to impact what we believe, how we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what we believe about Allah, what we believe about the teachings of Islam, and in essence, how we worship Allah, how we live our life. So be careful how you or who you take your deen from, because this knowledge is in our deen, and it's a serious matter. It is a very serious matter, and it's not the same as any other matter that people might be able to learn, in other fields from different people. This matter in our deen, be careful who you take knowledge from, because it is with regards to our deen. May Allah protect us all and guide us all to the truth and to the straight path. Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khaira, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.